Kiddle Cart Storybooks brought to life.
John and the Silly Spoon Hands. John was a bright little boy with a big smile and an even bigger appetite. But there was one little problem: he hated using his spoon and fork. "John, please use your spoon," said Mama. "No, thank you," John said, dipping his hand into his rice. "John, forks are for food," said Papa. "My hands are faster," John giggled, licking his fingers. Every day at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, John ate with his hands. Sticky hands, covered hands, saucy hands. "John, cutlery helps you eat properly," Mama reminded gently, but John just smiled and said, "My hands work just fine." That night, after a big dinner of spaghetti, yes, eaten with his hands, John crawled into bed, full and messy. He yawned and drifted off to sleep. Suddenly, he found himself standing in front of a strange wooden door. It glowed and had his name on it, John. Curious, John opened the door and stepped through. Poof! His hands turned into spoons. Big, shiny, silver spoon hands. "I can't pick my nose. I can't tie my shoes." Clink-clonk went his spoon hands as he ran to the next door. Behind the second door, poof! Now his hands were forks, sharp, pokey fork hands. Yikes! John gasped. He tried to open the door, but the forks kept poking everything. Too pokey, too pointy. He scurried through a third door, hoping for normal hands. Poof! Now he had knife hands. "Ah!" John shouted, waving his shiny, slicing arms in the air. "I look like a robot chef." John sat down on the dream floor and whispered, "Is this a dream? I just want my hands back." A soft voice echoed through the air. "Hands are for helping, cutlery is for eating." John blinked and suddenly, he was back in bed. His hands were normal again. He wiggled his fingers and sighed. Phew! At breakfast, Mama served oatmeal with fruit. John picked up his spoon without being told. "Look at you using your cutlery," Papa smiled. John grinned and said, "I like my fingers too much to lose them." From that day on, John always used his spoon, fork, and knife and kept his hands clean and happy. But sometimes when he sees a big bowl of spaghetti, he giggles and checks his hands just in case. Because somewhere in his dreams, the silly spoon hands still wait behind the door. And John? He's just fine with keeping cutlery on the table, not on his hands.
The end. See you next time.